President has said it is time to bring this country together, to bring American people together. That's what he wants to see. And so that's where I'm going to leave it. He wants to unite this country. And that is something that he's been saying since 2019.
That'd be really hard to do, though, if you're trying to make a shift away from what has been the platform of this administration, of his campaign, in that the view is that Trump and the MAGA Republican agenda is a threat to democracy. So how do you get that message across while bringing the temperature down? How is that phrasing going to be replaced? Is it going to be replaced?
Well, look, what I can say is this. We have our differences, and it's okay to have our differences. And it is okay to speak to someone's record, to speak to someone's character. That is the difference of, that is important to be able to do, to show, right, what the American people, what you're all about. We're just going to continue to denounce violence. It is important to do that, forcefully be against violence. Political violence has no place in America. It should not be. It does not have a place here. The president's going to continue to be very, very forceful about that. But we have a difference of agenda. That is the truth. That is the truth. And we're going to continue to speak to that difference, and the president's going to highlight his agenda.
Does the president view Trump's agenda as a threat to democracy?
Look, what I will say is right now we're not going to politicize what happened on Saturday. What happened on Saturday was horrific. It was. It was sick, as the president said. And we got to move forward in the way that we respect each other. That we don't have this type of discourse.
Can you bring us inside the room, though, in a way that you're asking to bring down the temperature and have people consider the language that they use in order to dial back where we're at? So how are those discussions going on inside? Is there reflecting on language that's been used? What example is the president setting for others?
Well, I think the president has set an example on Saturday. No, but we can't also discount what's happened in the past 3 days, right? We can't discount what the president did on Saturday, right? We can't. He spoke to the former president. He was briefed by his team. He addressed the American people the same night, right? Came back to D.C. Yesterday, he had another briefing with his team. Right after that briefing, he went into the Roosevelt Room, spoke to the American people, and then used the Oval Office, one of the most important tools to use, important places to give an important address to the American people in prime time on a Sunday. I think that's important. He wanted to make sure that the American people heard directly from him, from the President of the United States, and also wanted to lay out that we should be able to have differences. Violence shouldn't be a part of that, right? He wanted to lay that out and say we have to bring the temperature down. I feel like those 3 moments that we've seen in the last three days shows how the president is moving forward. It does. And it is lowering the temperature, saying violence has no part in our democracy in America, and saying it is okay to have differences. He also said that. He also said it's okay to have differences. Get Annie.
If we just take Jackie's timeline, the timeline that you just referenced, and move it back to 4 days before today, when the president was in Michigan, he said, "Over my dead body, it will happen," referring to Trump becoming the president. He also said, "Another 4 years of Trump is deadly serious, deadly serious." And I think that's the type of language that we're referencing here. And would it be possible to get some sort of indication about whether that kind of language is what we'd expect to continue to hear from the president?
So look, what I would refer you to is basically what I told Jackie's the last 3 days. And what the president has said, you heard directly from him, what he's laid out, how he sees the future, how it's important to be able to speak to different agendas. It is important to speak to someone's record, someone's character. Violence has no place in America. Political violence is not okay. It is not. It is just not. The president said what we saw on Saturday was sick. I've said this about 3 times. Use that word 3 times in this press briefing. it is not something that we should condone. We have to condemn violence. And that is something that this president has done throughout his career.
I think we're clear on that. It's just, will the language shift from the president, given what you're talking about?
What I will say is you'll hear the president highlight his agenda over the next couple days. He will continue to do that. He will speak to the importance of the American people understanding the differences of where he stands and where Republicans stand. I got to be mindful here because it is a campaign that we're speaking about. And I think, though, if you look at what the president said, if you heard what the president said the last 3 days, and how he's led this country in this horrific time that we saw coming out of Saturday, I think that's important. And I think that's what the American people want to see. Toning down the rhetoric and condemning violence. I got to wrap it up. Go ahead. I'm being pulled.
Yeah, thanks, Green. So then, given the language from the leader of the free world, how does the president or the administration bear any responsibility for the environment that we're in?
What I will say is, and this is just a repetitive of what I'm saying here, we have to lower the temperature. You heard that from the president. There's no place in America for violence. It is important that we are really clear about that. We do not know. We do not have the answers to what happened on Saturday. What we know is a former president was shot. That is not something that should be accepted here, right? That is something that we have to condemn. That's what we know. There are a lot of questions that are still out there. There are a lot of questions that are still out there, but we have to lower the temperature.
But the president from the Oval Office said we have to. The president from the Oval Office said we have to lower the temperature, but he never said it starts with me.
When it comes to political rhetoric out there, when it comes to being mindful of how we are moving forward with our politics here, it takes all of us to lower that temperature. And I think that's important. That's important to note. Right? And I think that's what the American people want to see. They wanted to hear what the president said in the Oval yesterday. They wanted to hear what the president said on Saturday. Right? It is important to speak to the moment that we're in and say, we got to condemn this type of violence. We do. Now, there are a lot of open questions here. We don't have answers to those open questions. The independent investigation will be thorough. That's what the president wants to see. We want to get to the bottom of it because there are questions that the American people should know as to what happened, what led to that awful, awful night on Saturday. I have to actually, president is waiting for me, so I have to actually go. I'll see you guys on the road. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.